Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Desire UPSC Vlogs. In today's live study stream, I am going to read and analyze the previous year UPSC question paper, which is 2021, and this is of General Studies 1. And in this particular paper which I am going to read and analyze, it is divided into different topics like Indian history and culture, and which is further divided into ancient India, medieval India, modern India, art and culture. And there were around 20 questions last year from this particular topic. And after it there is Indian polity and governance. There were 18 questions, geography 7 questions, agriculture 6, ecology and environment 16 questions, economy 14 questions, science and technology 12 questions, international relations and issues 4 questions, current affairs and sports 3 questions. So overall, like if we see the major percentage of questions and the most allotted marks was of Indian history and culture, that was 20 marks. So it is the most prioritized area. And after that, Indian polity and governance, then ecology and environment, then economy and science and technology. So these particular subjects were of the most important because a lot of questions come from these particular subjects. So yes, we'll further proceed in this study session. So earlier I have been through this particular paper and I have read the analysis and I have also attempted it, so I'm just going to revise it. So I hope you guys will also in a good state and you are still motivated and preparing for the exam. And I would like to wish all the best to all the fellow UPSC aspirants or the other aspirants who are preparing from some other kind of exams. So let's begin with this live study stream. So I will be just revising it, so I'll be just uh, reading this again, but you can also keep the video mute or you can just listen to the voice. And if you guys have any question, I would like to answer the question at the end of the live study stream. So what you can do, if you are not available or not online throughout the study stream, you can just post your questions in the comment section or in the live comment stream. So at the end I will answer it. So yes, let's begin. uh, First question, ancient India. Which one of the following ancient towns is well known for its elaborate system of water harvesting and management by building a series of dams and channelizing water into connected reservoirs? Answer is A. Dholavira. UNESCO has included Dholavira of Kutch in the list of World Heritage Sites on 27th July 2021. Discovered in 1968, the UNESCO said in a release that the site is set apart by its unique characteristics such as its water management systems, multi-layered defensive mechanism, extensive use of stones in construction and special burial structures. Dholavira is an archaeological site at Kedarbit in the Bachau Taluka of uh, Kutch district in the state of Gujarat in western India. The site was discovered in 19. It's not important. The fifth largest of the 8 major Harappan sites. One of the unique features of the Dholavira is that it is sophisticated water conservation systems of channels and reservoirs, the earliest found anywhere in the world, built completely of stones. The city had massive reservoirs. They were used in storing fresh water brought by rains to store water derived into nearby rivulets. Second question, from the decline of Guptas until the rise of Harshvardhana in the early 17th century, which one of the following kingdoms were holding powers in northern India? Guptas of Magad, Pushavutis of Tanjore, Mukharis of Kannauj, and Maktiyas of Vallabhi. During the 5th century AD, the Gupta Empire had begun to disintegrate. Along with this breakdown of Imperial Gupta, Magadha and the capital Patliputra also lost importance. 5 major powers emerged in North India that were the Guptas. The powers were Hunas, Mukhtaras, Maitikas, Pushpitas and Ghodas. The later Gupta dynasty ruled the Magadha region in the eastern India between the 6th and the 17th century CE. The later Gupta succeeded the Imperial Gupta as the ruler of Magad. Third question, which one of the following reference to the history of ancient India, which of the following statements is or are correct? Mitakshara was a civil law for upper caste and Dayabhaga was the civil law for lower caste. In the Mitakshara system, the sons can claim right to property during the lifetime of the father, whereas in the Dayabhaga system, it is the it is only after the death to the father that the son can claim right to property. The Mitakshara system deals with the matters related to the property held by the male members only of a family, whereas the Abhaga system deals with the matters related to the property held by both male and female. The correct answer is B, second only. The Dayabhaga and the Mitakshara are the two schools of laws that govern the law of succession of the Hindu undivided family under the Indian law. The Dayabhaga school of law is observed in Bengal and Assam. In all other parts of India, the Mitakshara school is observed. The Mitakshara school of law is subdivided into Banaras, Mithila, Maharashtra and Dravida and Madras schools. So statement is not correct. Under the Mitakshara school of law, all the members of the joint family enjoyed co-partnership rights during the father's lifetime. Under the Dayabhaga school, when the father is alive, the sons do not have the co-partnership rights but acquire it on the death of the father. In the Mitakshara school of co-partner share is not defined and cannot be disposed of. So this is correct. With reference to medieval India, which one of the following is correct sequence in ascending order? Prargana, Shankar, Subha. This is not. Fifth, with reference to Indian history, which one of the following statements is or are correct? Nizamat of Arcot. Correct answer is 1 and 2. The Nizamat of Arcot emerged out of Hyderabad state. The Mysore kingdom emerged out of Vijayanagara Empire. The Carnatic was a dependency of Hyderabad Deccan and was under the legal purview of the Nizam of Hyderabad until their demise. They initially had their capital at Arcot in the present day Indian states of Tamil Nadu. So we can eliminate option B, C and D. Okay, after Yaduraya Vadiyagar, the Mysore kingdom was succeeded by the Vadiyar rulers. The kingdom remained fairly small during the early period and was a part of Vijayanagara Empire. Vijayanagara is very important. After the fall of the Vijayanagara Empire in 1565, the kingdom of Mysore became independent and remained so until 1799. With the death of Aurangzeb and subsequent collapse of administration under the Emperor Muhammad Shah, Mughal authority in the area collapsed. In this context, Muhammad Khan established the kingdom of Rohilkhand. So is not correct. According to the Portuguese writer Nunes, the women in Vijayanagara Empire were expert in which one of the following areas? Wrestling, astrology, accounting and soothsaying. Fernão Nunes, a Portuguese horse trader, visited Vijayanagara in 1536-37. He was in the capital during the reign of Dholavira and may have been present at the earlier battles fought by the Krishna Devaraya. According to the Nunes, the king of Vijayanagara, has also women who wrestles and the other who astrologers and soothsayers, as he has a woman who writes all the accounts and expenses that were incurred inside the gates and other whose duty is to write all the affairs of the kingdom and compare their books with those of the writers outside. He has women also for music who play instruments and sing. Even the wives of the kings are well versed in the music. It is said that he has judges as well as bailiffs and watchmen who were night guard the palace, and these were women. Consider the following statements. It was during the reign of Iltutmish that the Chinggis Khan reached the Indus in the pursuit of the fugitive Khazaran prince. The first Mongol invasion of India took place in the reign of Sultan Iltutmish in 1222 1221, the Mongols under the Genghis Khan leadership appeared on the banks of the Indus in the pursuit of Jalauddin Mughburni, the son of a Khwarizm ruler who had taken refuge in the Punjab. The Mongols remained a constant The Taimur invaded the northern India, attacking the Delhi Sultanate ruled by Sultan Nasiruddin Muhammad Shah Tughlaq of the Tughlaq dynasty. After crossing the Indus River on 30th September 1398, he sacked Palumba and massacred its inhabitants. Then he advanced, captured Multan by October. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was the Sultan of Delhi from 1325 to 1351. On May 20, the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama stepped foot in India. After 2 years, he set sail from Lisbon. Da Gama arrived on the western sea coast of India at Calicut, Kerala, and Devaraya too was an emperor of Vishnugara Empire. Modern India. Montagu-Chelmsford Reform of 1919 recommended granting voting rights to all the women above the age of 21. The Government of India Act 1935 gave women reserved seats in legislature. The Montagu-Chelmsford reforms set recommendations made to the British Parliament in 1918 that became the theoretical basis of the Government of India Act 1919. These reforms represented that maximum concessions of British were prepared to make that the time the franchise was expanded and increased authority was given to the central and provincial legislative councils, but Viceroy remained responsible only to London. The Act of 1990 introduced diarchy in the provinces. Accordingly, the rights of the central and provincial governments were divided in clear-cut terms. The central list included rights over defence, foreign affairs, telegraphs, railways, postal, foreign trades, etc. The provincial list deals with the affairs like health, sanitation, education, public work, irrigation, jail, police, justice, etc. The powers which were not included in the state list vested in the hands of the centre. The 1919 reform did not satisfy political demands in India, despite petitions presented by women and men to the British Commission sent to evaluate Indian voting regulations. Women demands were ignored in the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. Though women were not granted voting rights, of India Act 1990 allowed the provincial councils to stringent property, income or education levels. The Simon Commission recommended holding round-table conference to discuss extending the franchise with limited input for women. The report from the three roundtable conference was sent to the Joint Committee of the British Parliament recommending lowering the voting age to 21 but retaining property and literacy restriction as well as bashing women's eligibility on their marital status. It also provided special quotas for women and ethnic groups in the provincial legislatures. These provisions were incorporated to the Government of India Act 1935. With reference to the 8th August 1942 in Indian history, which one of the following statement is correct? The Quit India resolution was adopted by All India Congress Committee (AICC). The All India Congress Committee met at Bombay on August 8, 1942 and passed the famous Quit India resolution, proposing to start non-violent mass struggle, and to achieve this aim on the night of this day Gandhi gave the call of do or die. But before the Congress could start its non-violent movement, the government rounded up all the important leaders including Gandhi in the morning of August 9. The unwise act of the government unleashed an unprecedented and countrywide wave of massed fury. Left leaderless and without any organization, the people reacted in any manner they could. Question number 10. Who among the following associated with songs from prison translating of ancient Indian religious lyrics in English? Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. The Songs from Prison is a collection of songs and lyrics translated by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, written during the imprisonment of Yerawada Jail, Pune. the original matters being taken partly from the Upanishads and from Sanskrit scriptures and partly from the poets of the Bhakti school of thought. 11th, who among the following was associated as secretary of Hindu female school, which later came to be known as Bethune female school? Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was a social reformer, philosopher and educationist who had a major role in the reformation of Indian society. In 1856, the government took charge of the Hindu female school, later renamed as Bethune School. The managing committee of the school was then formed by Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, the recommended this celebrated social reformer responsible for the eradication of the custom of sati and a relentless supporter of women's emancipation, was made the secretary. In August 1878, Bethune School was amalgamated with Bangla Mahavidyalaya, which was founded by Miss Eneth Arthur with the help of Durga Mohan Das, Dwarkanath Ganguly and Anand Mohan Basu. In the context of colonial India, Shah Nawaz Khan, Prem Kumar Sehgal and Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon were recommended as the officers of the Indian National Army. The Indian National Army was an armed force formed by Indian collaborationists and Imperial Japan for 1 September 1942 in the Southeast Asia during World War II. Its aim was to secure Indian independence from British rule. After the Indian National Army disbanded, officers and soldiers of the INA were arrested. Major General Shah Nawaz Khan, Colonel Prem Kumar and Colonel Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon were tried in court under the great efforts of their release, and their efforts did not go in vain. During the visit of the Hangar Tehreek headquarters, Major General Shah Nawaz thanked the general also thanked the we are highly grateful to the Hangar Tehreek efforts of obtaining the release. Which of the quarters of the which in the first quarter of the 17th century, which of the following were the factories of the English East India Company? B.ARCH. By 1623, East India Company had established factories at Surat, Bharuch, Ahmedabad, Agra and Masulipatam. In 1625, the East India Company's authorities at Surat made an attempt to fortify their factory, but the chiefs of the English factory were immediately imprisoned and put in irons by the local authorities of the Mughal Empire. The Kalingapatnam beach was once a seaport of the East India Company. With reference to Mandapale of Andhra Pradesh, Rabindranath Tagore translated the national anthem from Bengali to English here. Rabindranath Tagore translated Jana Gana Mana from Bengali to English and also set it to music in Matana Pale. The national anthem was written by Rabindranath Tagore as early as 1911 and was sung at the annual session of the Indian National Congress at Calcutta on 27 December that year, but it was actually done in Besant Theosophical College, Madanpale, where Tagore stayed for few days in February 1919 and was now familiar tune was set. With reference to India, the term Halbi Ho and Kui pertains to tribal languages. Halbi is an Eastern Indo-Aryan language traditional between Odia and Marathi. Halbi is often used as a trade language. It uses SOV words, subject-object verb, makes strong use of affix and places adjective before nouns. Ho is a Munda language of the Austroasiatic language family. Ho is a tribal language. It is spoken by the Ho, Munda, Kolha and Kol tribe communities of Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Assam, and is written with Rattan Chitty script. Kul is a southeastern Dravidian language spoken by the Kandas. It is mostly spoken in Odisha and written in the Odia script. With reference to India, the term Halbi Ho and Kui pertains to tribal languages. Halbi is a Eastern Indo-Aryan language traditional between Odia and Marathi. Halbi is often used as a trade language. It uses SOV words, subject-object verb, makes strong use of affix and places adjective before nouns. Ho is a Munda language of the Austroasiatic language family. Ho is a tribal language. It is spoken by the Ho, Munda, Kolha and Kol tribe communities of Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Assam, and is written with Rattan Chitty script. Kul is a southeastern Dravidian language spoken by the Kandas. It is mostly spoken in Odisha and written in the Odia script. With reference to the history of ancient India, Bhavabhuti, Hastimala, and Keshamvara were famous playwrights. Bhavabhuti was a famous Sanskrit poet and scholar during the 8th century. He composed the play Kallapi, which gives us about a historical events and important cultures of the people during the 8th century. He got the job of the chief poet in the court of the Yashovarman of Kannauj. His famous plays were Mahavichitra and Malati Madhava and Uttar Ramacharitra. Hastivarma and Keshavarma. Which one of the following statements is correct? Ajanta caves lies in the gorge of Waghora river. The Buddhist caves in Ajanta are approximately 30 rock-cut Buddhist caves, monuments dating from the 2nd century BCE to about 480 CE in the Aurangabad district of Maharashtra. One of the most fascinating and unique aspects of the Ajanta cave is the horseshoe layout of the gorge of the Waghora river. Sanchi is a Buddhist complex famous for its great stupa on the hilltop of Sanchi town in Raisin district of the state of the Madhya Pradesh, India. Chambal river flows northwestern through Madhya Pradesh, running from the temple through the Rajasthan, where the forming the boundary between the Rajasthan and the Madhya Pradesh before turning southwest and to join the Yamuna in the Uttar Pradesh state. Pandavalini caves, also known as Nasik cave, is located about 8 kilometers from the center of Nasik, Maharashtra, India. These caves are also known as Pandu Lena or Tri Rashmi Leni. Amravati Stupa lies on the right bank of the river Krishna, not Godavari. With reference to Chaushad Yogini temple, it is a circular temple built during the reign of the Kacha Paghata dynasty. Its design has given rise to popular belief that it was inspiration behind the Indian Parliament building. The Chaushad Yogini temple, Mitauli, also known as Iktasaro Mahadeva temple, it is an 11th century temple in Morna district in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. According to an inscription dated back to 1323 BCE, Bikram Samant, the temple was built by Kachacha Pagatha King Devapala. The temple was on a hill about 100 feet, 30 meter in the height. There are the 100 steps to climb up to the entrance. It is circular with a radius of 170 feet. While inside it has 65 small chambers, each a mandapa which is open and fascia of pilasters and pillars. The roof of the ring of the shrine is flat as it is of the central shrine of Shiva. The circular courtyard is hypothetical, open to the sky with an open porch as its entrance. The Parliament building of India is said to have been based on this temple. Consider the following pairs 2 and 3. Chandraketugarh terracotta art and Ghaneshwar copper artifacts. Burza home archaeological site is located in the Kashmir Valley of Jammu and Kashmir. Archaeological excavations have revealed 4 phases of cultural significance between 3000 BC and 1000 BC. Periods 1 and 2 represents the Neolithic era. Period 3, the megalithic era, the massive stone menhirs and the wheels turned red pottery. The period 4 relates to the early historical period, post-megalithic periods. Chandraketugarh is an archaeological site located near the Vidyadri river and features the examples of terracotta art displaying the unusual degree of precision and the craftsmanship. These places converted to surveys. Ghaneshwar is located as the copper mines of the Shikhar Jinjina of the have yielded a copper first fish hooks, razor blades, ornaments, rings, serpents, bangles, etc. Also, another foundation. Indian polity and governance. Under the Indian Constitution, concentration of the wealth violates the directive principles of the state policy. Part 4 of the Constitution of India, Article 3651 contains the directive principles of the state policy DPSPs. These principles aimed at ensuring socio-economic justice to the people and establishing India as a welfare state. The directive principles of the state policy deals with the social, economic and cultural rights, but they are not justifiable in the court of law when it is violated. Some of these principles are as follows: the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting a social order in which justice, social, economic and political shall inform all institutions of the national life. Article 38. Article 39 says that state shall in particular direct its policies towards securing a right to an adequate means of livelihood to all the citizens. The ownership and the control of material resources shall be organized in a manner to serve the common good. The operation of the economic system does not result in the concentration of the wealth of the common detriment. In other words, state shall avoid concentration of wealth in few hands. Equal pay for equal work for both men and women. The protection of the strength and the health of the workers, and that the childhood and youth is not to be exploited. What is the position of the right to property in India? It is a legal right available to any person. Right to property is not a fundamental right, but it is a legal right. Under Article 19, Clause 1, Clause F, citizens have the right to acquire, hold and dispose of property. This is dropped through the 44th Amendment to the Constitution in 1978. The Constitution 44th Amendment Act 1978 abolished Articles 19, Clause 1, Clause F and 31 and inserted the Article 300A into a new chapter of the Constitution, thereby depriving its fundamental rights status. Article 300A provides no person shall be deprived of his property save by authority of law. What was the exact constitutional status of India on 26th January 1950? A sovereign democratic republic. The Constitution of India came into force on 26th January 1950. Earlier, it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 26th November 1949. As originally enacted, the preamble described the state as a sovereign democratic republic, to which the terms secular and socialist were later passed by a captive parliament during the emergency. In the 42nd Amendment in 1976, the preamble was amended only once on 18th November 1976. The most of the opposition being jailed during the emergency in India, the Indira Gandhi government pushed through several changes in the 42nd Amendment of the Constitution. Through this amendment, the words socialist and secular were added. Between the words sovereign and democratic and the words unity of the nation were changed to unity and integrity of the nation. Constitutional government means a representative government of a nation with federal structure, a government whose head enjoys nominal powers. A government limited by the terms of the Constitution. The constitutional government is defined by the existence of Constitution, which may be legal instrument or merely a set of mixed norms or principles generally accepted as a fundamental law of the polity that effectively controls an exercise of political power. According to where constitutional government means something more than a government according to the terms of a constitution. It means government limited by the terms of constitution, not government limited only by the desires and capacities of those who exercise power. Consider the following statements with respect to Bharat Ratna and Padma awards. Bharat Ratna and Padma awards titles under Article 18 Clause 1 of the Constitution of India. Padma awards, which were instituted in the year 1954, were suspended only once. The number of Bharat Ratna awards is restricted to a maximum of 5 in a particular year. In 1996, Supreme Court held the constitutional validity of national awards Bharat Ratna, Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri. It ruled that these awards do not amount to titles within the meaning of Article 18 that prohibits only hereditary titles of nobility. Therefore, they are not volatile of Article 19, as the theory of equality does not mandate their merit should not be recognized. However, it also ruled that they should not be used as suffix or prefix to the names of awardees. Padma Awards, which were instituted in the year 1954, is announced every year on the occasion of Republic Day, except for a brief interruptions during the year 1978 and 1979 and 1993 to 1997. The government suspended the practice of granting Padma Awards for 2 years, out of which one suspension happened under the presidency of our Honorable ex-Prime Minister of India, Morarji Desai. The civilian awards were again suspended during the mid 1992 when the two PILs were filed in the High Courts of the India, one of which was Balaji Raghavan SP Anand versus Union of India, which was filed in the Kerala in February, and the other case was filed in Madhya Pradesh by the petitioner Satyapal Anand in August. Both the petitioner questioned the authenticity of the Padma Awards as they were interpreted to be titles which defied Article 18 Clause 1 of the Indian Constitution. Later on the August, responding to the case that was filed in MP, the High Court of the MP issued a notice to announce the temporary suspension of the awards. Bharat Ratna is the highest civilian award to the country. It is awarded in recognition to the exceptional service performance of the highest order in any field of human endeavor. The recommendations of the Bharat Ratna is made by the Prime Minister to the President of India. The number of Bharat Ratna award is restricted to the maximum of 3 in a particular year. With reference to India, consider the following: judicial custody. During the judicial custody, the police officer in charge of the case is not allowed to interrogate the suspect without the approval of the court. According to the section 167 clause 2 in the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, when a police officer presents the arrested person in front of the magistrate can order to send him either to the police custody or to the judicial custody. Judicial custody means an accused in the custody of the concerned magistrate. The police custody, the accused is lodged in a police station lockup, while the judicial custody, it is the jail. So statement 1 is not correct. In police custody, the investigating authority can interrogate a person, while in judicial custody, official needs permission of the court for questioning. With reference to India, consider the following statements. The state governments have their own prisoners released on parole rules. Parole is not a right. Under the traditional parole system, parole is a privilege for prisoners who seems capable for reintegrating into the society. It is not a right. Authorities retain the discretion to deny parole to the prisoners they deem dangerous. The Ministry of Home Affairs (MHA) in September 2020 said that the release of prisoners on parole and full draw is not an absolute right and should be the basis of well-defined norms of eligibility, and directed states that those involved in the terrorism and other heinous crimes should not be allowed to go out of jails. Prisoners in a state subjects under the state list of the 7th schedule of the Constitution. The Prisoners Act says that only states can make rules regarding the release of the prisoners of the full law, parole and the readmission as the part of the correctional processes in the jail reforms. At the national level, which ministry is nodal agency to ensure the effective implementation of the scheduled tribes and traditional forest dwellers reorganization of the Forest Rights Act 2006? The Ministry of Tribal Affairs. The Ministry of Tribal Affairs is the nodal agency to ensure effective implementation of the scheduled tribes and the other traditional forest dwellers reorganization of the Forest Rights Act 2006. Schedule It is also called the Forest Rights Act. FRA 2006 recognizes the rights of the forest dwelling tribal communities and other traditional forest dwellers to the forest resources on which these communities were dependent for a variety of needs including livelihood, habitations and other socio-cultural needs. The act encompasses right to self-cultivation and habitation, which are usually regarded as individual rights, and community rights as grazing, fishing, access to water bodies in the forest, habitat rights for PBTGs, traditional seasonal resource, access to nomadic and pastoral community, access to biodiversity, community right to intellectual property and traditional knowledge, recognition of traditional customary rights, and right to protect, regenerate or to conserve or manage any community forest resource for sustainable use. It also provides the right to allocation of forest lands for developmental purposes to fulfill basic infrastructure needs of the community. A legislation which confers on the executive or administrative authority an unguided and uncontrolled discretionary power in the matter of application of law violates which one of the following articles of the Constitution of India? Article 14. The administrative authorities have to exercise the discretionary power in various ways. It could be inferred that the use of discretionary power of the administrative authorities is very important for the fulfillment of their functions, but exercise of the discretionary power should not be unguided and uncontrolled. It has to be limited by certain methods so that they do not become unguided and in turn violate the actions of the administrative authority. As a professor says, administrative discretion is against equality and it becomes the cause of the arbitrariness, discrimination and unjust. The right to equality prevents the arbitrary action of the state. Article 14 basically states that the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or the equal protection of the law within the territory of India. Article 28 freedom as a attendance at religious instructions or religious worship in certain educational institutions. Article 32 the Indian Constitution gives the right to individuals to move to the Supreme Court to seek justice when they feel that their rights has been unduly deprived. Article 44 says that the state shall endeavour to secure for the citizens uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. Which one of the following in Indian polity is an essential feature that indicates that it's federal in character? The independence of judiciary is safeguarded. The Indian model of federalism is called quasi-federal system as it contains major features of both federation and union. Federal features of Indian Union: governments at two levels, center and the state. The division of powers between the center and the states. There is 3 lists given in the 7th schedule of the Constitution which gives subjects each level has jurisdiction in union list, state list, concurrent list. Supremacy of the Constitution. The basic structure of the Constitution is indestructible as laid out by the judiciary. The Constitution is supreme law in India. Independent judiciary. The constitution provides for an independent and integrated judiciary. The lower and the district courts are at the bottom levels. The high courts are at the state level, and at the topmost position is the Supreme Court of India. All courts are subordinate to the Supreme Court. Which one of the following best defines the term state? State, a community of persons permanently occupying a definite territory independent of external control and possessing an organized government. That is called a state. With reference to Indian judiciary, consider the following. Any retired judge of the Supreme Court of India can be called back to sit and act as a Supreme Court judge by the Chief Justice of India with prior permission to the President of India. A High Court in India has a power to review its own judgment as a Supreme Court does. Under Article 128 of the Constitution, the Chief Justice of India may at any time, with the previous consent of the President, request any person who has held the office of a judge of the Supreme Court to sit and act as a judge of the Supreme Court. The Kerala High Court, comprising a bench of Chief Justice Mr. S. Manikumar and Justice Shahi P. Challe, remarked that being a court of record, High Court can review its own judgment under Article 226 of the Constitution. With reference to India, consider the following statements. There is only one citizenship and one domicile. The Constitution of India gives single citizenship to the people of the country. All the people, irrespective of the states or territories in which they reside, are the citizens of the country. This is unlike US, where citizen is a citizen of US and the state in which he or she resides. One can have a dual nationality but not more than one domicile at a time. Head of the state in India is President. Article 58 of the Constitution sets the principal qualifications one must meet to the eligibles to the office of the President. A President must be a citizen of India. According to Article 5, all the people who were resident in India at the commencement of the Constitution were citizens of India, as well as people born in India of 35 years of age or above, qualified to become a member of the Lok Sabha. So in India, a citizen, whether by birth, registration, naturalization or descent, can become president. Which one of the following factors contributes to the best safeguards of the liberty in a liberal democracy? Separation of power. The system of separation of power divides the task of the state into three branches: legislative, executive and judicial. These tasks are assigned to different institutions in such a way that each of them can check the others. As a result, no one institution can become so powerful in a democracy as to destroy this system. Checks and balances, the right to mutual control and influence. Make sure that three powers interact in an equitable and balanced way. The separation of powers is the essential element of the rule of law and is enshrined in the Constitution. Thus, separation of power is the best safeguard of liberty in a liberal democracy. We adopted parliamentary democracy based on British model, but how does our model differ from that model? As regards legislations, the British Parliament is supreme or sovereign, but in India the power of the Parliament to legislate is limited. The parliamentary sovereignty is the principle of the UK Constitution. It makes Parliament the supreme legal authority in UK which can create or end any law. Parliament of India is neither sovereign nor supreme. The Constitution 42nd Amendment the authority and jurisdiction of the Parliament are limited by the power of the other organs. The distribution of the legislative powers between the Union and the states, the incorporation of the Code of the Justiciable Fundamental Rights, the general provision of the judicial review, the independent judiciary, the Supreme Court can declare a law passed by the Parliament null and void, the violative of fundamental rights or contravening other provisions of the Constitution. The Constitution 42nd Amendment Act inserted various articles in the constitution to curtail both directly and indirectly the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of the High Court and review. Article 32A barred the Supreme Court from considering the constitutional validity of of any state in proceedings for the enforcement of the fundamental rights unless a constitutional bench is a bench of the Supreme Court having 5 or more judges on it. These benches are not routine phenomena. A vast majority of cases before the Supreme Court are heard is decided by the bench of the 2 judges called division bench and sometimes 3. With reference to the union government, consider the following statements. N. Gopalaswamy, a younger committee, suggested that minister and secretary be designated solely for pursuing the subjects of administrative reform and promoting it. In 1970, the Department of Personnel were constituted on the recommendations of the Administrative Reform Commission 1966 and this was placed under the Prime Minister's charge. Right to privacy. Article 21. Article 21 of the Constitution of India states that no person shall be deprived of his or his life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by the law. The 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court in Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India unanimously held that the right to privacy was a constitutionally protected right in India and it was an intrinsic part of the right to life and personal liberty under Article 21. The right to privacy was reinforced by concurring opinions of the judges who were recognized that right to privacy includes autonomy over personal decisions as in beef consumption, bodily integrity as reproductive rights, protection of personal information as in privacy of health records. Article 15. Prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth. Article 19. Protection of certain rights regarding reform of speech, etc. Article 29. Protection of interest of minorities. Consider the following statements. In 1991 Lok Sabha elections, Sri Devi Lal contested from 3 Lok Sabha constituencies. Section 33 Clause 7, the Representation of the People's Act permits a candidate to contest any election, parliamentary, state element, or by 2 constituencies. This provision was introduced in 1996, prior to which there were no bar on the number of the constituencies from which wherever the candidate could contest. In 1991 Lok Sabha election, Sri Devi Lal contested for 3 different seats from 3 states of Haryana, Rohtak, Punjab and Rajasthan. He lost them all. Statement 3 is not correct. The cost of the by-election in such cases are borne by the Election Commission of India. Section 77 of the Representations of the People Act 1951, which stipulates that every candidate at an election shall either be himself or election agent keep a separate and correct account for all the expenditure in connection with the election between the date on which he has been nominated and the date of the declaration of the result. Therefore, both dates are inclusive. Now we have came to end of this live study stream. So we almost studied for 1 hour and it was a quite good and productive study session. I almost completed like a lot of sections: Indian polity, art and culture, modern India, medieval India, ancient India. So Indian history and culture and Indian polity, these 2 big portions of this UPSC previous year questions I have read in this 1 hour, and it was quite a good number, that 40 questions I read with their explanations. The explanations were little long, so that's why I took a bit longer time. So yes, I enjoyed it. I hope you are also doing well. I saw there are only very less number of people in the live comment section because I didn't told that, and it was a surprise live study stream. But now onwards, whenever there will be a live stream, I'll be telling it about in that community post, so you guys can see over there. And if you are watching this particular live study stream, and if you want me to make some changes, if you want some other subjects or my other revision or study thing to be live, you guys can also give me suggestion. So yes, all the best everyone, and thank you everyone for watching this particular live study stream. Happy study hours to all.